Welcome to the Echo Tips podcast.
Great Scott! Here's a sneak peek into what we're going to cover in this week's episode of the Echo Tips podcast.
Northeast, Roanoke, Virginia to 3402 Orange Avenue, Roanoke, Virginia. It'll cost $6.91 and take about 5 minutes, with a 13-minute pickup time. Would you like me to book this ride for you?
Well, hello, and welcome to the Echo Tips podcast. It's good to have you returning listeners, and you new ones, it's good to have you here with us as well. I'm the host of the Echo Tips podcast. My name is David Ward. Pleasure to have you all with us this week. We're going to have kind of a little palooza of sorts, different kind of things. Just little nuggets here that I've pulled from various different areas. I am feeling vastly better than I did last week. It actually started to really kind of wear thin that one day, or I should say I had some vaccines in your body the very next day, at least in this instance. It doesn't always happen. Seemed to be like all my limbs felt like they were 30 pounds heavier, and I was really dragging last week. So we, of course, put out that archival episode that I thought would be really good, kind of refresher for some of the stuff going on in the AI space, especially with our A-ladies. But today, I thought what we'd do is just pull in some of these different nuggets. Probably none of them on their own would be their own episode, but just some things to kind of keep pace with. And for you listeners, I would really love to hear if any of you have feedback in some of these areas, like things you've tested out already that I just haven't had a chance to or haven't got access to yet. That is going to include Gemini, some of the special A-Lady store services, which have been now rebranded. We'll talk about that now, a different type of storefront for Alexa skills. It's no longer called that now, although it had another name earlier, so maybe they'll change it for the third or fourth time. And then we're going to talk about emailing from your A-Lady just briefly, and what's this last one? Oh, about the updates feature. That's a feature we haven't touched on in a very long time, but it looks like it's kind of been retooled a little bit, so I'm just going to kind of mention that as well. These are all kind of little nuggets we're drawing in. And one of the higher level things I'm going to do today is I did connect us to an A-Lady service or new A-Lady store. I think they're calling them Add-Ons now, not skills, Add-Ons. And that is to Uber. I figured, I use Uber. I might as well have it connected, and let's see how that works. So before we delve into that in any sort of detail, so that's a high level of things we're going to be talking about today. But for our new listeners, I'd like to welcome you to the show. The Echo Tips podcast, just to give you a little background, you new listeners, especially this is the very, very, very first episode you're ever listening, is in its 8th season. And we do, we're a weekly show. We do 52 episodes a year. And so as you can imagine, our back catalog is over 370 episodes. And we cover everything connected with the Amazon Echo line of devices / you may say A-Lady, A-L-E-X-A. I'm not saying the name so I don't trigger your devices at home. Although I'll probably be saying it here later in the show, so you may want to shut the ears off of your device if it would respond to the A-Lady name, or we'll also be using that Captain Kirk, Captain Picard phrase. Let me shut my ears off of this one, and that is computer. So we'll be using that phrase as well. And I have noticed lately, I'm going to have to put in a little third-party thing to the Double Tap team. I have noticed sensitivity increasing on some of the A-Ladies. They'll hear something they think is the A-L-E-X-A, and they respond, they pause, and what's the command? No, that wasn't you. We were talking to you. I think the same thing happened with the COM computer word as well. But anyway, we'll get into that. So you can go look at our back catalog, you new listeners. I'm the host of the show. As I said earlier, my name is David Ward. I'm an assistive technology instructor and general purpose IT trainer. And I've been doing this for the whole length of this series, and so I've been doing a lot of Amazon Echoes, and I've set up a lot of Amazon Echoes in our community as part of grants and different things in the past, and so I have had a plethora of experience. And so we don't really narrow down to anything in particular. Software updates, new features, obviously the new A-Lady infused with AI goodness known as A-Lady Plus. We've been talking about hardware and new equipment as it gets announced, services as it gets tacked on, and that's actually going to be part of our discussion today under this new storefront thing, this new title, this new mechanism. You can tell they put a little more spit and polish into it. It used to be a raw list. I mean, like just a number one, number two from top to bottom. It was pretty basic, but they're trying to put some spit and polish on this. So I think they might be getting themselves to the point where they're going to try and reinvent this. So we'll have to see. I have a lot of pontifications upon this today, and I hope it's become a pontification episode or me just rambling on. But with these different diverse topics, that's always possible. So anyway, it's good to have you new listeners with us. We look forward to that. By all means, if you are trying to solve a particular problem like media playback, home security, home automation, whatever, what device to buy, go by all means back and check out our back catalog. There's a good chance you're going to find out what you need to know. Okay, so before we delve into our plethora of subjects for today, we're just going to take a brief moment and then we'll be right back. All right, guys, so we're back. And so where shall I start? Well, I'm going to start with Gemini, which is a competitor to our A-Lady devices on the Google front, on the Google Assistant front in particular. Now, Gemini is probably being more likely integrated more actively into modern smartphone devices like Android devices like the Pixel and Samsung devices. If Samsung is currently feeling positive about that, I think they probably are. Although they used to have their own competing voice assistant called Bixby? Yeah, Bixby, I think, with a B. So where are we on that front? I even bought a actual updated hardware device here. I have sitting on my studio desk here. It looks a lot like the Echo Dot in a way. If you took the old ball-shaped dot, which I guess is still a ball-shaped dot, they haven't really changed it yet, and squished it a little flat, kind of like a donut, and that's kind of what it looks like. So the last couple iterations of they called it the Mini, the Nest. They rebranded it at one point, Nest Mini. And that has formerly had the Google Assistant on it, but theoretically you could potentially get access to the Gemini feature set on it where you're talking to an AI infused goodness, kind of like our A-Lady Plus. And I'm probably going to start saying the A-Lady name for legit now, Alexa. So anyhow, what can I tell you about this? I've been trying to get into this beta, this public beta, this whatever, and you look through the language, it is confusing as snot. I got an email about 24 hours ago that said, hey, you're welcome to join Gemini live on your home Google Assistant. And I'm like, whoa, okay, so all this time I've been on the waiting list. I finally got access. I don't know if I really got access or not. I'll probably bring this up in a future episode. I went down a real rabbit hole of having to reconnect my Google Nest device to my account and my app, and I had to reset the app, and I had to reset the Google Nest, and then I reset my Wi-Fi. There was just a real plethora of problems, and in the end, I might have negated me being in the waiting list, like they were looking for a specific software update on my device or something to reauthorize it, because I click in the email, get started. And it's supposed to open in the Google Home. I am going down this road, aren't I? Let's just say it didn't work, okay? But I did learn something I wanted to share with you real quick. We'll maybe save that whole long story for another time. But the one thing I did learn, and this was genuinely new, is there was a diagram was it in the email or on the website? It was on the website, I believe, that the email linked to, that had categories of paid-for Google accounts that would have access to Gemini Live, but they also seem to make it pretty clear in the dialogue that there would be free Gemini goodness, free of charge if you just got a Google Nest device, it's a smart speaker, that, related to its basic feature sets, alarms, timers, maybe basic facts and trivia, some calendar, stuff like that. So that's kind of interesting approach. versus Alexa's approach, Alexa Plus, so where you really need to pay for it or have Amazon Prime. So that's kind of interesting. And then they kind of shunted, you would pay the upgrade fee, if you were needing some of the more heavy-handed Gemini features, like where it works with your Nest cameras and video footage playback and things like that. So I don't know how well that play is. It's kind of confusing when you have to start making diagrams to explain to people. But anyway, I've been down this topic too long. All right, let's move on to the new skill store. So I was burrowing around in the app for you guys to try and figure this out. And before I've mentioned this, in fact, probably in the very first episode I ever did about having access to Alexa Plus, I dug around and they kind of are trying to split off the old skill store with creating a new mechanism. Now, originally, I believe they called this something like Alexa Services. So what you would do is you would open the Alexa app, you would go to the More button in the bottom, and then there'd be this two-column, at least on my phone, two-column set up on the top, and it's probably about 4 down on the left or something. There was something called Alexa Services. And you would go into that, and that was many things that they had mentioned at some of their big conference events about Alexa Plus. So that would include like Uber integrations, the ability to book restaurants through different, these are third-party services, buy Fandango tickets or something like that, different things like that. But I looked in there, and it's no longer called that. I just did an update on the app, and now it says it's an Alexa Store. So I went into Alexa Store, and basically it was mostly all the stuff that I had seen before, these third-party services where, you like book somebody to bring something to you or do a home repair or something, or Uber or something like that. And but they'd really changed the spit and finish of it into these beautiful columns with tiles and categories like entertainment, productivity, and different things. So you could really tell they were trying to roll, they're getting prepped. They also had, and then they had like developer tags under it if you hit the device, and it would tell you a little more about it. So you could tell they're trying to get there. I don't know. Most importantly, I saw a new tab at the top, which was what's new, basically, or no, what's coming, and I was able to peruse some of that. So I think that was kind of interesting. Like most importantly, Grubhub. If Grubhub wasn't already there, Grubhub might have been already there, but certain things like that. I think Lyft was not there yet, but they were going to be adding Lyft. I don't think Grubhub Uber Eats was quite there yet, but they did have Uber. So a few things like that, but they were mentioning some of these future arrangements and services. So I think that's kind of interesting. The new branding, kind of a new, I don't know where this is going to go. But while I was there, I did link to my Uber account. I thought that would be kind of useful and something I could demo to you with one of these new Alexa Store features, separate from the Skill Store. Again, by the way, guys, there's no obvious link in there that popped me over to the old Skill Store. You had to go look for the Legacy Store skills somewhere else. Actually, that's a good question. I have to see where that's buried now. But anyway, so I set this up. So I thought I would try it out real quick on my my Echo here. It should be responding to the wake word like Captain Kirk or Captain Picard would. Computer. And let's see if I can book a ride or get close to booking a ride for McDonald's or something nearby. Computer, can you book me an Uber from home to the nearest McDonald's? Processing.
I can help you get to McDonald's from your home at 3 Northeast in Roanoke. I found several McDonald's locations nearby. Which one would you prefer? 809 Hardy Road in Vinton, 701 Williamson Road in Roanoke, 3402 Orange Avenue in Roanoke, 2801 Franklin Road Southwest in Roanoke, or 1335 Hirschberger Road Northwest in Roanoke?
Orange Avenue.
Great choice. I've got an UberX ride estimate for you from 300 Tilly Street Northeast, Roanoke, Virginia, to 3402 Orange Avenue, Roanoke, Virginia. It'll cost $6.91 and take about 5 minutes, with a 13-minute pickup time. Would you like me to book this ride for you?
Cancel.
I understand. The ride hasn't been booked yet, so there's no need to cancel. Is there anything else you need help with?
Stop. All right, let me shut his ears off. He might still ramble a little bit here. But anyway, that gives you a real quick idea. Sorry, guys, I had to bleep some of that out. Had my my address on there. So anyway, that gives you guys a little idea. I've never tried. This is the first day I installed it. So I'm trying to think fancy with it. Like, could I do a touch and go, where like I run into a restaurant or a dry cleaner and grab something and come back out? Of course, you can do that in the app. I think the thing that most interests me in this, and I haven't tested it yet, but all the reading and dialogue, when you add the permissions for this feature, were there. That pretty much seemed to suggest that as I book this, it's totally linked to my account on my app, so I can open the app on my phone at any time and pretty much see what's currently set up or what's going to route. But what's really neat is once they start getting close to you, your echoes in throughout your house will be like ding ding, they're 5 minutes out or 2 minutes out or whatever. I haven't once again experienced that yet, but I think that's a really kind of useful feature and a nice hands-free way to do it. Not to mention the battery suck. Although it may be still using your phone for certain things. I don't know. That's an interesting. No, it has to be entirely up in the cloud. So yeah, I think that's kind of interesting. And I think it'll get much more interesting, guys. Much more interesting. I mean, this is something we really could have kind of done before with the old skills. In fact, we probably did. I think Domino's Pizza was one of the early delivery places you could use. And I wouldn't see why you couldn't do an Uber. In fact, I probably did do Uber before. I think obviously with the natural language thing, maybe something complex like, hey, I just want to go to McDonald's and come right back. That could probably be interpreted a lot easier than in the past as some sort of weird command structure. Like, step 1, do this, step 2, do that, step 3, do that, where it takes you through kind of like a decision tree. But back to where I was, where I think this could be really good, these services or Alexa store add-ons, I think is what they call them, add-ons, is something much more dynamic and complex, like food. So Grubhub, I think, is going to be a fantastic example of this. If the recipe skill feature set on Alexa is any insight, my gosh, if I have access to a Grubhub menu for a local restaurant, Chinese or something, and it can burrow through all of that and find a dish that doesn't have something I'm allergic to, and then rattle off the price or compare that chicken dish to another chicken dish. Whoa, I think that could be pretty mind-blowingly cool. And that simple natural language and then get my chicken dinner, whatever delivered to my house. I think that's where something like this could really surge. Not these like super simple decision trees, like send a car to my house and send it somewhere else. But yeah, this more like more complex where I need to data mine through a whole bunch of information. And that's, after all, what large language models do pretty daggone well. So anyway, that is the new Alexa store, formerly called Alexa Services. Think of it as Skill Store 2.0. They're not calling them skills so far. They're calling them add-ons. I'm getting the vibe maybe they're going to try and reboot this app entirely. It probably needs it. It's pretty junked up, and I don't know. It's not as bad as the Gemini thing. We'll go into a whole spiel about that next time, but I don't know. I just don't see a lot of quick innovations in here. I'm like, sifting through this stuff for you guys to find something that's new, and I'm like, oh, that's labeled new, or they've completely changed the way this looks. So they are making it look pretty. You can see they're priming it to have, buy buttons and probably all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. All right, let's move on here. I'm sorry, I'm kind of delaying. So we talked about that. Another thing they did in there I forgot to mention is there's a lot of these things they're listing almost as add-ons that are not add-ons in the Alexa store. They're just different AI-style tasks and things you can do, like document management, how to triage a calendar, how to use it for creative resume writing or creative, narrative writing or whatever. And if you really look at them, they're just different kind of suggestions and prompts for your A-Lady, and it'll do it right there on your phone, apparently. I don't know if they all work that way, but when I tapped one of them, it took me into creative poet writing mode right there on the phone, and she spat out like a poem to me about cats and dogs and something else. I can't remember. But anyway, so that's kind of interesting how they're kind of nesting AI potentialities in there with other third-party skills. So, I don't know what I feel about that. That's kind of interesting. All right, so let's move on here. What was I going to say about communication? I haven't done a demo in a long time about email in the new A-Lady Plus. It's supposed to be a native feature, and there was a brief period of time where I think I was accidentally even triggering it while I was trying to text message somebody. They're like, would you like me to send it to this email? No, text him. But lately, I haven't had the email functionality working quite right. And if you go into the Alexa app, you go to the More button, that same page where it has Amazon Store. On the right-hand column, at least on my phone, it's very near the top, is communication. So you would go in there, and that's where it has generally your ability to call different people on their Echo devices, to I think you can call their phones and stuff. They have their contact cards in there, your top 10 contacts you can call. Drop in on people like family members. But also there's the email functionality. I think the text messaging is connected to all that too. But also there's an email functionality in there. And on the top of my communication was a big banner about setting up email. Not like I hadn't already done this several times when I moved over, but I'm in beta, so it probably broke and I need to go back in. So it said you need to set up your email capability for the communication thing. So I went to that, and it promptly pretty much crashed the skill, my app. So it went to a page that it couldn't get out of and said, sorry, error. So I don't know. I don't know where I'm with that. If anybody's having problems with that or successes with that, I'd love to hear about emailing using your Alexa Plus feature set, because it is pretty cool, super cool. All right, let's move on to our, believe, last item. This is a feature that's been around for a long time, also in the same menu structure, where you go to the More button and then it gives you the slide out pane, in the columns, communication, Alexa Store. Down below that, there's a little multi-dot thing that allows you to go to a second page of items. On that second, and you go to that second page, you'll find things like, I think it's Alexa Security. You'll find a few other things. But the one I wanted to drill into a little bit has been there for a while. It's called Follow Updates. Did I get that right? It's kind of a weird way to say it. Follow Updates. Yeah, that's what I wrote. So the Follow Updates feature. So in the old days, and I did demos on this, you can go back and check the back catalog, you would put something in there about, somebody or something you wanted to follow. I don't think it allowed you to put almost anything. It had to be almost like a proper name, like the name of a company or a stock ticker name or a celebrity or something. So you as an example, put in something like Taylor Swift, and if there was any important news that came out in one of their aggregators, I don't know what, probably an Amazon aggregator of some kind, and probably not all the third-party services, and it saw something about Taylor Swift, your Echo at a convenient time, kind of like probably when you walk in or something, kind of like it notifies you have packages that are on their way, it would go ding, ding, and have a yellow thing spinning, and you'd say, hey, what's going on? I have an update for you about Taylor Swift. And it would tell you that. So sports teams were another good idea that were suggested in there and stuff like that. Well, it looks like they've kind of retooled this a little bit, and I think it's been this way for a little bit with A-Lady Plus. I didn't dig into it too much. The interface is a little different, a little wonky than anything else they typically do. But if you go to Follow Updates, it gives a little brief explanation on the first page. Not a very good one, but it gives you a little bit of something. And then it has a settings button in the top right, which is a very unusual UI element they've never used before. And then down on the bottom, I think it has a similar button that does something different, like go to the list of things you're following. And on the next page, you have these interesting categories. And they've really kind of covered a lot of stuff. They'll have like a music tab, books, movies and TV, all the recipe, they'll have all these different categories. And if you tap on one of those, you can see a list of things that it's kind of suggesting that you might be interested in. So like me and Alexa have had conversations about book authors. I'm trying to find a new book author to read. And we talk about sci-fi. So it's somehow pared down that I liked certain classes of sci-fi, or I like Star Trek The Next Generation or something like that. And it'll have little suggestions in there, which is interesting. It feels like a little leakage from the privacy tool in a way, because it's not being, anyway, that's a subject for another day. But they're not automatically enabled. It's just like throwing out an idea. Hey, I know we talked about Star Trek The Next Generation. Would you like to follow any information about that? Like if something comes out about that, you want me to tell you? So you can go and find one of their pre-populated suggestions. And that in itself is kind of interesting to see what it thinks you're interested in. But anyway, and if you tap on that item, it'll slide up from the bottom with a little brief commentary. And I believe there's a plus button or something there. It's not very user-friendly for those that are using screen readers, but you select that, and theoretically it's added to your to be followed up and updated about. Now, there, more importantly, at the top, and like I said, this thing's laid out really weird. It says add an update, but then there's a weird kind of search box and a weird kind of dialogue. But anyway, in the search box, if you typed in theoretically Taylor Swift, then you could go and find Taylor Swift, and you would probably have in brackets something like, singer, and then you would select that, and then it would pop up from the bottom, and you'd hit the add button. And then from then on, you're following anything about Taylor Swift, the singer. And now, like I said, I haven't used this feature in a long time, years probably, so I'm just telling you how it used to work. It does feel like they're trying to kind of roll it out in a broader kind of way. I see from a marketing standpoint where this could be really kind of useful to them, and in a way make it very useful to me. I mean, like if I get notified about an author that just put a new book out that I really love and I read everything they've ever sold, that could be useful, or a pair of shoes or something that I like that's now $20 off or something like that. Maybe, maybe. Or a movie, I love all these movies with this actor in it, and he just had a new one come out last month. Whatever. I think that could be kind of useful. The way I look at it is kind of like Google attempted a beta test of an advertising engine to get rid of cookies. And it was called Topics, I believe. It went through several iterations, but the last one that died on the vine was called Topics. It was very much like this. The browser would store a list of what it knew you were interested in, and you could prune it as you saw fit. You could wipe it out at any time, and it would just keep a running dialogue of that, and it would spontaneously, in a randomized fashion, if the website said, hey, does Dave have any interest in sports equipment? And it could voluntarily say, yeah, he likes tennis, and then they'd run a tennis ad on the top of the page or something like that. So that's kind of interesting. But this obviously is more towards you just staying informed of the follow updates feature. So anyway, that brings things to a close. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, I'll take you down a rabbit hole about my experience with Gemini later. God, that app is horrible, by the way. I don't know if anybody from Google is ever listening, but it's been horrible forever and ever and ever, and it's even more horrible now, and it needs a rewrite from the ground up, guys, all the way from the ground up. It's atrocious. But anyway, so that will wrap things up for us. If you have a thought or suggestion, you can email me at ecotipspodcast@certdoctor.com. And you can also find out more about us on YouTube, all our past episodes, and you can look at our blog at certdoctor.com as well to find additional information or a listing of those podcast episodes. But as always, we'll end by saying we thank you, as always, for listening.
You've been listening to Echo Tips with your ever-curious and insightful host, David Ward. 8 seasons strong and still uncovering new ways to make your smart speaker smarter. And so, dear listeners, as our journey through the wonders of Alexa draws to a close, I bid you a fond farewell for now.